The night my sister looked straight at me and called me the safe one, something inside me went silent in a way I'd never heard before. Not angry, not surprised, just done. She said it in front of everyone, laughing like my life, my choices, my years of holding things together didn't matter. They laughed with her, too, even my mother. The kind of laugh that tells you they've already written your story without ever asking what it cost you to survive it. I remember standing there, glass in hand, feeling the weight of every time I'd swallowed my pride, every time I'd let them believe I didn't mind being the background to their spotlight. For years, I thought keeping the peace meant keeping quiet. That night, I realized silence doesn't make you noble, it just makes you invisible. So I stopped waiting for them to see me, and they have no idea what's coming next. Cold wind scraped across the cockpit glass, blending with the slow hum of the rotor, still spinning down. I landed the helicopter on the San Diego base just as the sun disappeared behind the hangars. The storm that had swallowed the northern border was finally dying, leaving behind silence, debris, and 7 lives that somehow still had a pulse. I could still see their faces, the half-frozen, half-broken ones who looked at me like I wasn't real, like I was just the thing that showed up between them in the dark. I pulled off my helmet, my sleeves streaked with oil and salt. Every mission ended the same way, not with triumph, but with a strange emptiness, a stillness so clean it almost hurt, like the air after thunder stops. The phone buzzed on the console. "Don't forget Clarissa's engagement dinner next week. Please, no uniform this time." No greeting, no warmth, just instruction. Polite enough to sting, as if what I wore said more about me than what I'd done. I leaned back in the seat, reading the message again until the words blurred in the reflection of the windshield. Outside, the sky had turned metallic violet, that quiet color between endings and beginnings. Funny, I thought, how people can measure your life in the things they never cared to understand. The runway lights glowed behind me as I drove away, their reflection fading in the rearview mirror. The night air smelled of fuel and rain. Somewhere beyond the mountains, Montana waited, colder than any altitude I'd ever survived, and I could feel it already, another storm forming on the horizon, one I'd have to fly through without a map. Winter light in Montana has a strange purity, too white, too clean, as if it scrubs the warmth out of everything it touches. The road stretched for miles through the frozen pines, and each mile felt heavier than the last. By the time I turned onto my mother's street, the snow had buried the fences, and the house glowed like a stage set, new, polished, nothing like the one my father built. The air inside hit me first, lavender candles and something synthetic underneath, a scent trying too hard to be elegant. Clarissa came running down the hallway, all perfume and practiced perfection. I let her talk. She always filled silence like she was afraid of hearing herself think. She said Nathan couldn't wait to meet me, that he'd served in Yemen, that he was a SEAL. The word landed in the air like a trophy. I smiled, polite. Then came my mother, hair fixed, pearls gleaming, the picture of control. Her eyes moved over me the way she used to inspect my uniform before high school competitions, searching for flaws. She called me dear and told me I looked tired, asked if I was still doing those rescue things. I said I was doing what I knew best. The words fell flat between us. Dinner that night glowed under soft yellow light, all too perfect. Clarissa talked about venues, menus, and Nathan's charm. My mother nodded, every mention of stability ringing like a hymn. I caught the way her eyes drifted toward me when she said successful, as if I were the opposite of that word. When the meal ended, I stepped out to the porch. The air sliced through my lungs, sharp and clean. Moonlight burned across the snow, so bright it almost hurt to look. I whispered into the stillness, half to myself, half to the sky, that maybe my mother had been right. Some people are built for calm. I just never was. Morning brought laughter echoing through the walls, that kind of bright joy that doesn't leave room for anyone else. Clarissa was on a video call with Nathan. His face filled the tablet screen. Square jaw, steady eyes. Kind of man who looked like he'd never been told no. He smiled at me politely when she turned the camera, said he'd heard I flew helicopters, that it was brave. I told him it was a job. He chuckled and said it wasn't the usual thing for women. The line cut quick and clean, but it went deep. Clarissa didn't even notice. She changed the subject, all sunshine and pride. That night, the house was full again. My mother had invited old friends, mostly retired officers and their wives. I sat through small talk until one of them asked what I did. When I said Air Force Search and Rescue, a woman laughed and asked if I taught swimming or handled the paperwork. The laughter was soft but synchronized, like they'd rehearsed it. I smiled back, said neither. I fly people back home. The table went silent. Clarissa broke it with a laugh too loud for the room, saying I'd always been dramatic. I didn't answer, just kept eating, the sound of my fork steady against the plate. Inside me, something started to stir, a small vibration, low and familiar, like the hum of a rotor cutting through wind. Later, in my room, I watched snow falling through the window. It blanketed the ground, soft and perfect, erasing every flaw, every scar. The whole world looked peaceful. But I knew better. Snow covers everything, even the things that should never be hidden. I've never liked rooms where every laugh sounds rehearsed. That night, the whole place shimmered with the kind of perfection that makes your skin itch. Crystal glasses, jazz whispering through speakers, heels tapping across polished floors. Clarissa's engagement party looked like a photograph you'd frame to prove your life was flawless. I stood near the edge of it all, the only one not wrapped in